Hey all, Heretic here, and patch 28.2.3 goes live today. This is a data side only patch, nothing to download, everything is good. It's just all server crap, so you're good. Let's jump right in and check out all the Battlegrounds changes, folks, because there is a lot. First, let's jump right into the hero changes. We're going to start with tae'thelan Bloodwatcher. Their hero power originally was passive. Every third spell you buy costs 0. It is now passive. Every third spell you buy costs 1 less. Now this is a massive change because originally people were buying 3, 5-drop spells for 0, for nothing, and now they're only getting a gold discount. Is it still going to be effective? Is it still going to be good? More than likely, yes, but it's not going to be the broken end-all be-all it was. So we'll see tae'thelan back. I just don't know if we're going to see as much of him as we did previously. Next, we have Lich baz'hial getting a change. Originally, their hero power cost 1 gold. It now costs 2 to steal a card from the tavern, taking damage equal to its tavern tier. So you're still going to be able to get it. It's going to cost a lot more gold. I think we're going to see a lot less Lich Baz. I feel like it shined in demon lobbies, but otherwise people would still take advantage of it because the damage was negligible. But especially with the ability to gain armor before being so way to make it cheaper. Now I feel like the 2 gold cost plus the health cost means you're really only going to see this in lobbies where you can play demons. Doesn't mean people won't still try it. I just don't think it's going to work nearly as well, especially if the armor stays down around 5 where it's been at, I believe. Next, we have a slight nerf to Niuzao, and the wording changes making me wonder what exactly it is. And I'm assuming this is to deal with the undead trick of killing things in the shop phase, but I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna have to play it out and see. Maybe I'm just not able to wrap my brain around the change, but originally it was after a friendly minion dies, gain its death rattle. It is now going to be after a friendly death rattle minion dies in combat, gain its death rattle. I would have to assume that is to avoid the whole shop phase shenanigans, but otherwise it sounds like Niuzao is going to work exactly like it always has, which is fine with me because I love Niuzao, so I'm fine with this change. We do have a couple armor updates. The following era heroes now have less armor. Holmes and Heist Baron Togwell go to 8. Zarella has 8 at higher ratings, 10 at lower, and Crag has 12 now. Heroes now have more armor. tae'thelan Bloodwatcher is now up to 12. Lich baz'hial is now up to 15, which, yeah, I could have sworn it was 5 or 6 before, so that is a massive change. And Putricide now has 18, so Putricide just got a little more appealing just because of that armor allowing you to get to the better hero power minions. Could make him more effective. So now let's jump into the minions that have changed. We're going to start with Whelp Smugler, who got a little bit of a nerf. Went from a 2-5 stat line to a 2-3, but otherwise exactly the same as before. Whelp Smugler still going to do the same. Bronze Sandspewer definitely got a nerf. Went from a 2-2 with Divine Shield to now being a 1-1. They're still going to have the same effect of when their board is full. They're going to gain 2-1 in stats, but that 1-1 does make them a lot weaker in the initial couple turns. You're still probably going to like this minion, but it is going to be a little harder to get it going, that's for sure. Nether Drake got a bit of a nerf. Nether Drake went from a 2-5 at the end of your turn, give your dragons +1 attack, to a 2-4 at the end of turn, give your other dragons an attack. Now this is important because it means they have 1 less health, and they don't buff themselves, they only buff the other minions. So this is definitely a pretty significant nerf to Nether Drake, who's always been kind of just a mid-game subpar dragon to begin with, but I guess their numbers were showing that, especially with minions like Whelp Smugler, it was just having too much value. Ignition Specialist got a bit of a nerf buff. Now, when I say nerf, it's because it's going from tier 5 to tier 6, but it has the same effects. It just gains more stats. So it's definitely a nerf, but at least it's a chunkier minion. So it goes from being a tier 5 2-2 to a tier 6 8-8 with the same effect of 2 random spells at the end of your turn. Not a bad change, just there's going to be less of them, and I'm never excited to find this card. I'm not sure how I feel about it being at Tavern tier 6, but I mean, we'll play some games, but there's worse tier 6 minions you can triple into at times. Even if it doesn't match your build, at least it gives you spells the following turn. Mystic Spore Bat, we're going to see a lot less of them. Nerfed again, still a very good card, but it goes from being a tier 3 4-1 to a tier 4 5-1. Same death rattle, get a random spell at the end of the turn. Sprightly Scarab got a bit of a buff. Sprightly Scarab went from a tier 4 5-2 choose 1, give a beast +1/+1 in Reborn or +4/+4 in Taunt, to instead a 2-1 tier 3 choose 1 beast, give it +1/+1 in Reborn or 3/3 and taunt. I feel like this is definitely a big buff. We now have more of these in the pool. We're now going to be able to give Reborn easier. I don't think I ever used this as a taunt spell, but I mean, since there's more of them, there might be times when this definitely feels better now. We'll see how it plays out, but this feels like a good change for the Sprightly Scarab. Spellbound Seafarer, definitely going to nerf, which is tough because Pirate's already hard to play. I know it wasn't really used as a Pirate card as much as any card, but Pirates need something, and it's sad to see this get nerfed. It went from a 4/5 after you buy 3 cards, get a random tavern spell, to a 4/6 after you buy 4 cards, get a random spell. Now, true, if you're playing Pirates and you're doing APM, this doesn't really affect you dramatically, but it does dramatically affect everybody else. I still think I'll buy this card, even at 4. It just depends what I'm doing. Like, if I have a brand, I'm definitely interested in still cycling with this thing. It just depends what I'm playing. Trembling Trolley got a bit of a nerf, goes from a 0/9 Avenge 3 to get a random tavern spell to a 0/10 Avenge 4 get a random tavern spell. Now, I have seen crazy boards where this was producing 10 spells a turn, but Avenge 4 definitely is a big nerf. You're going to see a lot less value from these, but it's still a decent card on a board. So we'll see how it plays out, but that Avenge 4 might have pushed it a little too far to make it practical for most boards. Lighter Fighter got a nerf. I still feel like Lighter Fighter is going to be fine. Lighter Fighter goes from a 5/1 deal 5 damage to the lowest health enemy minion to a 4/1 deal 4 damage to the lowest enemy health minion twice. The reason why I think this doesn't really matter about a change because it's primarily to snipe low health minions. It already doesn't work against a board that say giant elementals or infinite pirates. It's there to kill the Murloc scam boards and the Goldrin boards before they can do anything, take out their Titus, take out all their stuff. So I'm not really sure that this is gonna make the difference. I still would play Lighter Fighter almost, and really no hesitancy to still play Lighter Fighter. If I have the other minions to make it work, this feels like it still works just fine. Yeah, it's a 20% nerf. I just think it's a 20% nerf that doesn't matter because you're already targeting the lowest health minion. Hey, Hummingbird, you might want to play more finally because it can do something other than buff your own minions. This goes from a 0/5 to a 2/4 with the same effect of +2 attack to your other beast. Awesome change. I like this. This makes me definitely want to play Hummingbird a lot more than before. Niuzao got a buff. It goes from a tier 5 6/5 to a tier 5 7/6. I mean the same effect of it hitting a random minion with its attack. It hits the primary and then a random other minion. One doesn't make a big difference to me. I mean, maybe we'll see a big difference from Niuzao, but this in no way makes me want to take Niuzao any more than if I already wanted to take Niuzao. It's a change for the sake of change, it feels like. Bazaar Dealer got a nerf, goes from being a tier 4 2/4, get 1 tavern spell each turn costs health instead of gold to a 2/4. Once again, I mean, the 3/6 stat line already seemed like it was a little high when they put it out for what it did. The 2/4 kind of puts it in line, but nobody was really buying this for its stats. If you were buying this, it's because you were already running a Soul Rewinder, you were already rocking the undead, and you were already having demons, and you were already having a good time. Prosing Percussionist got a nerf, goes from being a tier 4 4/4 to a tier 5 6/6, so a slight stat buff, but once again, this is one of those minions where you don't care. This could have been a 1/1. You were buying it because Battle Cry, discover a demon, deal damage to your hero equal to its tier. Once again, you probably had a Soul Rewinder, you didn't care about the damage, or you were desperate and you needed your board to work, so you were taking it anyway. So I really don't think this matters stat-wise. The tier difference is going to be the big difference because it means there's less in the pool. Utility Drone got a bit of a change. It goes from being a 6/7 at the end of your turn, give your minions +1/+1 for each magnetization, to a 4/5 at the end of your turn, give your minions +2/+1 for each magnetization. As far as I'm concerned, this is a buff. We didn't care about its stat line. Yeah, the 6/7 was not bad for an early triple, but you were buying this most of the time for the effect. And by making the effect give more attack, that just feels better for mechs. So definitely a buff in my mind to Utility Drone. And oh my god, the change of all changes. Beware, Murlocs are a powerhouse again. They will dominate the lobby. The Swamp Striker goes from a lowly 1/4 to a 1/5. And it kind of reflects the way the meta's going with some of the way the minions are statted out. I still never want to play Swamp Striker. This is a garbage card. Please don't make me buy it. Just change it. Give us something else. I hate Swap Striker. Heedless Hoarder got a buff. Went from being a tier 4/5/6 to being a tier 3/4/5 with the same effect that when you sell it, it's going to give it stats to another minion. This card just isn't a big deal to me right now because previously in the meta before when we were in Quest, you were buffing your Murloc boards a lot. And you still do occasionally, but Murlocs are not as strong as they were. Before, when you'd buff your board a lot and you'd sell this card, theoretically, you'd get a lot of stats being thrown around. But now, since you just don't keep Murlocs on the board because you don't really want to play Murlocs right now, this doesn't really feel like a change that matters. Murlocs didn't get any big changes. You just saw the previous card change in this. Murlocs are still weak, and this change in no way makes me feel any better about it. But oh wait, they've come to save the day! King Bagurgle is here! Huzzah! King Bagurgle goes from a 6/4 battlecry. Give your other Murlocs +2/+3 to a 6/3. Give your Murlocs +3/+3. Once again, Murloc changes for the sake of changes. I don't care. Give him back his death rattle where he does the same thing, because Bagurgle, especially at tier 5, doesn't feel great unless you've got a brand and you've got a full Murloc board. It's not enough for me to care. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe this one extra attack will make the difference, but I feel like Murlocs need more than this still. Big change to Quillbore. Moon Bacon Jazzer goes from tier 3/2/5 to a tier 2/1/3. Same battlecry, give your blood gems +1 health. Now this is important because this means there's more of these in the pool. If you're playing Quillbore and you never buff your blood gems and then you get to tier 5 and you triple into a Quillbore option, it doesn't feel good because you've got no health buff to your Quillbore. And that's one of the biggest problems Quillbore have. They typically get the attack guy on the board and he triggers a couple times and it feels good. But since battle cries are so much harder to get triggers, it just doesn't feel good. Moving it to tier 2 hopefully makes Quillbore a little more relevant. Paint Smudger getting a buff. Going from a tier 4/5/3 to a tier 3/3/2. Whenever you cast a tavern spell, play a blood gem on another friendly Quillbore. Still don't feel like I care about this card. I feel like this is just too little, too late, nothing to help Quillbore. I feel like the other change makes a big difference to Moon Bacon compared to this. Just making more of a card I don't want in the pool to begin with doesn't feel good. Geomagus Roogug goes from being a tier 5 to a tier 4 with the same stat line. Whenever a blood gem is played on this, play a blood gem on a different friendly minion. This tells you how weak Quillbore are kind of right now. When you could take what was supposed to be an early win condition for Quillbore, keep the same stats, move it down a tier, and it still doesn't seem great because you still have to have enough blood gem generation to want to have this out there and then to play the blood gems on it. We'll see how it plays out, but I mean, playing a blood gem on this and then on a different friendly minion feels good. It's not limited to the tribe. I just don't care, but maybe now I'll want to play it more, especially with Moon Bacon Jazzer being at tier 2. And just to show you how weak they thought Quillbore were, Snarling Conductor goes from being a 5/5 at the start of your turn, discard a spell to gain 3 gold, to a 4/5 at the start of your turn, discard a spell to gain 4 gold. Remember, folks, if you weren't aware of this, blood gems count as spells. You don't have to keep a spell from the shop in your hand. You can just discard blood gems and make more gold. So, I mean, this is a good change. You're obviously gonna have a lot more gold to work with. This is a lot of economy. The stat change doesn't matter at all because you're buying this for the effect. We'll see. This could be interesting, especially if you golden it. 8 gold? Could be fun. Bristlebach previously was a massive win condition that was very hard to beat in the current state of the game. There were definitely ways around it, but in the right lobbies, you could truly dominate. It went from being a 2/10 Avenge 1, play a blood gem on all of your Quillbore, to an Avenge 2, play 2 blood gems in all your Quillbore. So it sounds like a buff, except for the Avenge 2 part, because typically this was based around having a taunted Quillbore with Divine Shield and resetting that Divine Shield constantly by minions dying. But now that you have to have 2 die, that definitely makes this a lot harder to pull off and a lot less effective, but you are getting as a trade-off double the blood gems. So there's certainly still ways to make this work. It's just not going to be that broken combo it was in some lobbies. Reef Riffer got a bit of a nerf. Reef Riffer went from a 1/2 to a 1/1. Spellcraft, given minion stats equal to your tavern tier. No one was buying this for the 1/2 anyway, so I'm fine with this change. You were buying it for these constant spellcraft, if you were buying this at all, so I'm fine with this change. It doesn't matter. Nerubian Deathswarmer got a buff, got a little bit more sticking power, goes from being a 1/3 to a 1/4, same battle cry, +1 undead, attack to your undead. Still a good card. Now it has more staying power. I bought this before, and I'm still gonna buy this now, even easier. Mummifier got a solid buff, same effect of a death rattle, give a different friendly undead reborn. Went from a 3/2, it is now a 5/2. Hits a lot harder, still delicate, so it's still gonna give out its death rattle. Still a good card. Moroes, Steward of Death with a massive buff, still tier 5, goes from a 6/2 reborn death rattle, give your undead +6 health, to a 6/1, so it's more likely to die. Death rattle, give your undead +2/+6. This is a massive change to early tempo. You triple into this relatively early and you have a few undead minions, you get a lot of power from this. It's gonna trigger twice a turn. It's gonna die because it only has 1 health. If you golden this, it's a 4/12 buff, which is kind of bonkers. I think we're gonna see some resurgence with undead with some of these changes, especially with Moroes. Wow, you triple into that early, you are a powerhouse. Brave Gobbler, a somewhat controversial buff from what I've heard from people, and I kind of agree. This is a very powerful card that just got stronger, but it does take time to build up, so it could be weak in the wrong lobbies especially, but old 3/4 at the start of your turn, destroy an undead minion to the left of this, gain +4/+4 to new 4/3 at the start of your turn, destroy an undead to the left, this gain 5/5. So, I mean, it goes from being a 7/8 to a 9/8. Not a huge difference, but it's a buff to a card that I felt was already pretty strong. We'll see how it plays out in the long run, but seems like a damn good change. Some people argue Archlich Kel'Thuzad was too strong. Some people say Archlich Kel'Thuzad was too weak. I think Archlich Kel'Thuzad was very powerful with certain builds, especially outside of the undead tribe, but stat-wise is their only change. He's going from a 7/4 to a 10/8, just to bring him in more in line with what a tier 6 is currently nowadays. Not a bad change, still a good effect. Waiting to see how this works. Motley Phallanx. No, it was a 7/7. That was way too strong. Death rattle, give minions 7/7. Let's nerf it to a 5/5. That'll fix it. It only gives a 5/5 death rattle. Like, oh, it's still way too strong. Let's nerf it again. Let's make it a 4/4 that gives each type 4. When do you guys learn? Just remove the card. Stop trying to make a card that doesn't really work a little less until it's useless. Like, either say it works or it doesn't work. You could have left this as a 7/7 buff if you just made it a neutral. Remove the all tag and it would have been fine as a neutral. But it's still going to be boards where it works. You're still going to take Kel'Thuzad, get this thing reborn, and print free triples of this card. What? Who is in charge? Who is making these decisions? Did they design this card and they feel like they have to keep it in the game? You don't. Just stop with the pride. Let this thing die. Why keep bringing back this card? I mean, maybe this is the nerf that finally does it, but it feels like you just keep moving it so it's a little less effective. And the problem is it's way too effective still, so a little less doesn't do the job. I mean, it's a 20% nerf, we'll see. It certainly doesn't feel like it's the change it needs. It feels like this is more of these incremental changes that still leave a dominant card dominant. Now we've got some spell changes. We got Lantern Light goes from being a 2 gold spell to a 1 gold spell. Tier 2, 1 gold, give your minion stats equal to your Tavern tier. Hell yes. It's a cheap spell. It's a good spell the later in the game it gets. You got 1 floating gold, you're tier 5. Give a minion 5/5. Why the hell not? That's awesome. Staff of Enrichment. I mean, this one always felt expensive to me. Obviously, if I was thinking about playing demons, if I was thinking about playing mechs, it has some value, but it certainly is expensive to me. It goes from being a +2/+2 buff to minions in the tavern this game to +1/+2, still 3 gold. I didn't like buying it that much before, unless I was playing that kind of board. I'm going to be the same way now. Fleeting Vigor goes from being a tier 3, give a minion 5/5 until next turn, to a tier 4, give a minion 6/6 until next turn. Still 1 gold. Still an effective card. Still a limited use package, but when it's useful, it's very useful. And if you're floating gold, always useful. Echoing Roar got a bit of a nerf. Same effect of +2/+2 every turn to a minion for the rest of the game. But it goes from being 2 gold to 3 gold. That feels about right. This card, I felt like, especially where you can get it early enough and you stack enough of these on a minions, it was very good. Making it cost a little more feels right. Armor Stash. I feel like this card is kind of controversial. I feel like it's definitely making games go longer. In this meta, we need that. I feel like the meta is way too fast right now. So hey, anything that can make it go longer is good. The only change is it goes from being 2 gold to 3 gold. It's still tier 5, still gives 5 armor. I'm okay with this. They could have made this thing 5 gold, and if I know it's going to keep me alive one more turn to get me in the top 4, I'm going to spend the 5 gold. Buddy Up, a great card, very effective. Got a bit of a nerf, and I feel like it's a justified nerf. I still want this card. Goes from being 3 gold to 4 gold, but the dev comments are the important part. Piloted Whirlotron has been removed from this pool. Now, this is the Death Rattle mech that I think was Sneed's buddy that would copy all your Death Rattles at the beginning of combat. This is a big change because that card really made a lot of builds disgusting, and this going out of the pool is a nice change. I feel like this card was way too powerful because of Piloted Whirlotron. I still love it for Baby N'Zoth. I still love it for the ability to get Ice Block and cards from higher tiers. There's so many fun things you can get out of this card. It's still worth it. I feel like 4 golds are about right because you're often generating a card anyways with this. So 4 gold, good price. Same along the lines with Sacred Gift. Tier 6 now, 6 gold instead of 5 gold. Give a minion Divine Shield. Folks, if you're willing to spend 5 gold to give a minion Divine Shield, you're probably willing to spend 6 gold, and that's still worth it. It's still worth it. And at least George is sitting back there going, look, please play me. It's only 2 gold for my bubbles. Why spend 6 gold on these bubbles, and you can have mine on turn 2 if you want to. You can cast them on your minions. Good change. We also have some minion pool updates. Felfin Navigator removed from the pool, and not a big change. Returning to the pool, we have Cold Light Seer, Sore Loser, and General Dracasath returning to the pool. Cold Light Seer is returning as a tier 2 minion instead of the tier 3 it was before. At one point in the game, it was a tier 4 minion, and for those who don't know, that's just +2 health tier Murlocs on the board. It's not even a big deal. So, and I'm not going to complain it's back. It's just funny that it's fallen all the way to tier 2 to give you an idea of power creep in this game. Now, we also have some bug fixes in the game. And this one, you might not have noticed, but I definitely felt it when it happened. They fixed a bug where Titus's Tribute and Upper Hand, which have been causing issues in the game, have been returned. Those were gone for a little bit. I saw Titus Tribute one day, and then the next day, I never saw it again. The same with Upper Hand, and I was kind of sad they never addressed it anywhere. I wish when they just decided to take a card away or give a card to us, they'd let us know, but I'm just happy they're back. Fixed a bug where Silas Darkmoon's hero power would trigger when Ritual Growth was played. I believe that's the spell that increases the minions in the tavern by 1, whatever's in the tavern currently. I played Silas a couple times. I guess I never played the spell while playing him, because I certainly wish I did now for those extra triggers. For those who like Maiev, they fixed a bug where minions would lose their buff when locked in hand using Maiev Shadow Song's hero power. I did see this a number of times. You buff, say, with apples, and then all of a sudden you would get the card in your hand and you'd look at it and you'd be like, it's back to its base stats. What the hell? Now you're going to retain those buffs, so you still get those value out of them. It doesn't happen too often, but when it did happen, it was annoying, so good change. Fixed a bug where Oil Strike didn't work with Ambassador Phelan. Well, if I spent 3 gold on a damn spell and it didn't work, I'd be pissed, so good change. Fixed a bug where Annoya module gave additional buffs when magnetized. Wow, I didn't see this one either. I know I've put on some Annoya modules. Wonder what the additional buffs were. I didn't see anybody talking about this. I wonder what exactly they were doing. And I would like to see a bug fix. I don't know if this bothers anybody but me, but how come the gold is never right? Now, I understand that now there's lots of ways we're increasing our gold and decreasing our gold and spending extra gold and then having to pay for it the turn after. But the icon on that bottom, and I know it's been an issue for a long time, just never matches right most of the time, it feels. At least once a game, that thing's wrong. And like more than a couple times, I've done my math wrong and chat's screaming at me, but because of the delay, I don't see that it's off. That's really frustrating, guys. Come on, this has been an issue forever. Somebody fix this basic shit. I mean, if you can't have the actual number match the visualization, what the hell? What are you doing over there? Come on, match it up. If I've got 7 gold, say 7 gold. If I've got 2 gold, don't say I have 0 gold. It should be very simple. I guess I need to keep a running track. Jesus. And that's it. That's all the changes. Lots of cards buffed, lots of cards nerfed, some cards returned, some cards left. I feel like a good patch, a lot of stuff in and out. The spell meta definitely needed this patch last week, and I don't know if this fixes some things that should be fixed. I think they went for some incremental changes for some things that just needed to be axed, but that's why I sit here and we talk about it, and I don't sit there and come up with the ideas. Maybe they know what they're talking about. Keep that opinion between the two of us. It's just you and me. Don't talk to them about it. Just you and me. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a few things. And let's get in the battlegrounds. Let's have some fun. Let's check this stuff out. Tell me what you think in the comments below about these changes. Are they enough? Are they too much? What would you do if you were the one in charge? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the battlegrounds. Until then, have a great day. Later.